Parents of Reddit. What's the best child hack you've figured out to make your life as a parent easier? My wife and I came up with a short, unique whistle that both kids knew meant "come here to us." Works in malls, water parks, or just to come in and clean up for dinner. Fellow parents were amazed by this. Teach them early. I told my kid her ears turn red when she tells a lie. Now she covers her ears when she lies. She is almost 7 and it still works. If they're cranky, put them in water. I have teenagers. This is still the method that I use. Even having them wash their hands or face does wonders. To be fair, I do it with my husband too. So really, I guess it just works for humans. If you have a toddler who likes to get naked when they're supposed to be sleeping, you can cut the feet off of footy pajamas and put them on them backwards, with the zipper on their back, and then they won't be able to get them off. Let your baby watch you fall asleep. If it's their bedtime, don't play on your phone or read a book. They are following your lead. So be boring, close your eyes, and be still and quiet, and they will learn to, too. If you have a hard time getting them to eat their vegetables, give them before the dinner, because that's when they are hungry and will eat almost anything. Give them some carrots and cucumbers in a glass, which is a great snack. If you threaten a consequence, follow through 100% of the time. Kids will test boundaries at every age. You just have to make it appropriate for their age group. If you throw sand again, we are leaving the beach. You must leave the beach. If you don't clean your room, no screen time tomorrow. No screen time. The key is to make the consequences not impact you to the point that you don't want to follow through, since it will ruin your day too. A hard line to tote, but boy do boundaries and trust work. Edit. Explained further below. Kids will always test boundaries 100%, but that doesn't mean you go full force consequence every time. This is different than giving a consequence every time. You can explain why you don't want them to throw the sand first. Talk to them about why they threw it. Take them in the water for a bit. But if you threaten to leave the beach once all of those things fail, you have to follow through. A teen breaking curfew once is not a "take away your phone and computer and you're grounded for 3 months" consequence. But maybe the 12th time is. Learn to say thank you and "I'm sorry" to them. It makes you closer and helps your relationship with them no matter what age. Experiences are better than things. Waking up before them makes the day a lot easier. Find a way to see them when you're driving. My kids didn't understand the difference between different days. For example, we'll go to the store in 3 days. So my husband started calling it sleeps. Now we say we'll go to the store in 3 sleeps. Quote. Also, offer a choice. Do you want to put your shoes on first or brush your hair first? It short-circuits their tendency to fight you and makes them feel like they're making their own decisions, which they are. Make sure the options listed are ones you're okay with though. Not a parent, but a daycare worker. And I learned this through Reddit. If a child is having a meltdown, ask what color their shoes, shirts, pants, whatever clothing they're wearing are. This distracts the child long enough to stop them in the midst of their meltdown because they haven't thought about what they're wearing. I used this trick twice on a kid today who was just having a terrible day. Calmed them right down. When my kids were little, my wife worked at a health club and I would take the kids swimming in the evening. We'd always pack their PJs for their clothes they'd change into after swimming. That way, they got out of the pool, showered, and changed into pajamas. They didn't always go to bed right when we got home, but they were always ready for bed when we got home. It was my wife's idea. Be mindful of how you phrase questions. Example, instead of "Do you want a hot dog for supper?" ask "What do you want on your hot dog?" Quote. If your kid's a dick, it won't matter, but it will help in most situations. To get a newborn to burp, sit them on your knee, holding them under their armpits, and move their upper bodies in a circle several times. Like a reverse hula move, I guess. I learned it from a neonatal nurse and it's almost infallible. So much faster and more reliable than regular burping. Saw one on Reddit where if you want to enjoy some time undisturbed, tell your kids that you're taking a nap, and when you wake up all of you are going to do chores together. They'll want to let you sleep as long as possible to avoid doing housework. So they'll leave you alone to actually nap or do other things like read. Denny's is where I teach them restaurant etiquette. Zero pressure and light on the wallet. When your kid sees something they want, like a toy or game, and you don't want to buy it, tell them to put it on the list. Quote, if they're the type of kid that will follow through, then you have a handy list for Christmas or birthdays. If not, then they'll forget about it. Helps avoid arguments in the store because you aren't really saying no. When mine were younger, say 3 or 4, and it was close to time to stop playing at the park or in the pool, I always gave them plenty of warning using a concrete timeline that they could understand. Instead of saying, "We're leaving soon," or "5 more minutes," I would tell them something like, "Okay, let me see you jump in the pool. 7 more jumps and we're leaving." Sometimes the number was higher, but never less than 5. Less than 5 was always met with "Come on, just 1 more," which usually wasn't allowed. 7 or more was always such a big number that they seemed to get their fill and were ready to go when it was time. Best advice we ever got from our doctor: babies don't have a good circadian rhythm and rely on us to set one for them. Pick a time that you're going to go to quiet time. Basically turn out lights, TV off and/or volume down. Do quiet activities, sit still, etc. We did this with our first child and it became the center of our evening routine. Now my son is 3 and knows that when the clock says 7:00, it means settle down time, and helps to turn the lights out. A routine is key. Our kids do great transitioning from one setting to another, like home and school, on vacation, etc. I mean, they're little whole toddlers a lot of the time, but that's expected with toddlers. I make kid traps. It works for all ages. I have an early riser, an enthusiastic 5 a.m. early riser for many years. Things are better now. During those tough years, my invention came to fruition, and age of child is a factor as well as placement of the traps. With little ones, you need traps all over the house, and the key spot is right outside the door, placed after the child goes to bed. This is what all those shoes boxes you have are best recycled for. Inside the box you will place a number of surprises that can entertain the child. Really, it can be anything that will not harm them. It could be several rolls of cardboard toilet paper, blocks, a couple of figurines, weird stuff. Again, nothing that can harm them. With smaller kids that get into everything, you need these all over the house so that when they open a drawer or cupboard, it's the first thing they find, and instead of ripping the tape out of your classic VHS tapes or ripping your comic collection to shreds, they go through all the things in the kid trap. You do need to replace items in the boxes frequently. As the child gets older, more art supplies should be included. Drawing materials, crafty things, pieces of clothing, books, games, stickies. It really works. Don't give them stickers. I hate stickers. Until they learn to forage. That's code for feed themselves. Good luck. Not a parent but babysitting. I had 2 tricks. Always count down time to prevent surprises. No matter how much of a routine it is. 15 minutes until pajama time. 10 minutes until brush teeth. 5 minutes until bedtime. Helps ease them into the shit they hate so they don't get blindsided by it while they're having fun. The second trick was to turn anything I could into a game if I got the sense they were wanting to be difficult. I babysat 3 kids for a few years, and any time they started to get tantrumy about brushing their teeth, we'd play a game. I brush the oldest kid's teeth. The oldest one brushes the middle kid's teeth. The middle kid brushes the youngest, and the youngest brushes mine. 'Cause I can touch up the worst job later. By the end of it, everyone is laughing and having a good time. Or we make teams and race, me and the youngest versus the 2 older kids. You don't always have the time and energy, but on the rare occasions you do, you may as well have a bit of fun. I had 3 kids very close in age. At one point I assigned them each a day of the week. They each got 2 and Sunday was the leftover. Whatever the question was, the answer was, whose day is it? Who gets to go first? Who gets to ride in the front? Who has to take their bath first? I saved so many arguments with this. No apparent. But when I was a child, my mom would hide her 4 glass birds, little sculptures she had, around the house. My sister and I had to look for them. We had to be very careful while looking so we didn't break them. If we broke one, we lost. If we left drawers, cabinets open, we lost. You would think that we could tie and each find 2 birds, but it never happened. We would go to Mom when we gave up, and she would hide them all over again. It wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that she never hid a 4th bird. But boy, did we spend a long time looking. Parents of Reddit, what's the best child hack you've figured out to make your life as a parent easier?